Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. I know it's not, from the thumbnail you can tell this is not what I usually post. I don't post stuff about like automotive how-tos or anything like that. It's mostly like 99% fishing stuff, and then maybe there's one Discada video that I've done that I guess has done pretty good. So anyway, um, if I'm a little freaked out, I apologize. It was a pit bull back here. It was messing with me. He was barking and growling at me, so I'm trying to watch my back. If you see him crawl up in between these two, y'all say something. I got something for him. But anyways, um, so this is my wife's Nissan Armada 2018. We've been dealing with issues with it not wanting to start, and at first it was just the normal, typical, click, 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 and it would die. It wouldn't want to start, or sometimes it would try to start and then die. So first thing, of course, I thought was, okay, it's the battery. So what I had is, I started off with just this old Harbor Freight $10 special, and you basically just connect this to your, positive and negative terminals, and the standing voltage, it'll tell you, okay, your battery is currently charged at whatever voltage. Now with this thing, it's got a coil here, so what you do is you'll push this button, and it'll apply a 10 amp load to the battery, basically load testing it. And that's, I guess, simulates whenever you turn your car on, and the amperage draw from the starter, it simulates that. So it basically tells you really whether or not your battery is strong enough, right? So, and this is how I started out when I started doing, working on my cars and stuff. So you connect it to the positive, connect it to the negative, and okay, right there it says I'm in the green, right? So what you'll do is you hold this down for 10 seconds, and then it'll tell you whether or not your battery is strong enough. So you see it's kind of towards the weak side right there. Actually, it's right at the green part for this battery. So the smoke that you see up here, that's from the current going through that coil and heating up. And so whatever grease or dust or whatever is on that coil is what's you're going to see burning up. So that's normal to see that. So from that, it would tell me that it's okay. Battery's not too bad. Always disconnect the negative first, right? And you can also check the charging system here. So I'll show you here in a second. You'll basically turn on your car, and it'll register on that meter whether or not you're getting good voltage from your charging system, from your alternator. So if you don't have that, you can do just a check, like a simple voltage check. So this is just a multimeter. You're going to check for voltage DC. I'm going to set it at 20. Now this is just going to check your standing voltage. It's not going to apply a load or anything. But what you can use this for is it will also tell you what kind of amperage your alternator is putting out. Not amperage, I'm sorry, voltage. So right there you see the standing voltage. I don't know if I can get close enough. The standing voltage is 13.0 volts. So that's good for the standing, but again, it doesn't apply the load, right? You have to apply a load to it. So what I'll do now, I'm gonna go turn on the car, and I'm gonna show you what the alternator is putting out towards the battery. Give me 1 second. So from here, with the alternator running, it's going to be giving me 14.25 volts. So when I first saw that, I'm like, okay, cool. My alternator is putting out good voltage, right? I'm not having any issues. And likewise, if you wanted to check that with the other meter that I told you, and you're not going to be able to see it because I can't get close enough. So we'll check, always connect the red first, which is your positive, and then connect your negative. So I wish you could see. Let me see if I can just pull you in. So I don't know if you can see where it says charging system, and it says okay. It's right, it's in the green. So that tells me that, okay, my charging system is good. So I was like, okay, so then what else could it be? Let me turn off the truck so you can at least hear me better. Okay, so everything that I read, I'm getting good battery voltage, right? It's showing, I'm getting 12 plus volts when it's under load. It's good to go. No issues with that there. When I turn on the car, the alternator is putting out good voltage. And there should be no issues with that, right? So, again, like I said, I've been fighting this for the past 2 months. It's crazy because we were supposed to go, like in my other video, I said we were supposed to go to Colorado for spring break. And we had the truck packed up, all of our coolers, luggage, everything was good to go. We were all sitting in the truck, in the driveway the morning of. I go to push that button, and the thing didn't start. And we had a deadline. We had to be in Colorado at a certain time. Oh, I was so frustrated. I didn't know how to. I sat here for like 5 minutes troubleshooting it until the battery ended up dying because I kept trying to start it so many times. I ended up getting a rental car, and I was like, I'll just deal with the Armada when I get back. I'm sorry, I keep looking at. I'm looking for that pit bull. So anyway, we come back from vacation. I charged the battery. I tested. Nothing happened that night that I came back from vacation. So I was like, you know what? I'll call the tow truck in the morning. I'll have them take it to the dealership. I can't figure it out. I checked the alternator. I checked the battery. There's nothing else that I can do. I thought it was something else with security because it kept showing like a little red light that shows security on the display. It said security and it had like a yellow key blinking. I'm like, okay, maybe it's the immobilizer unit. Maybe that's what's wrong with it or something. So anyway, I let it charge overnight. The flatbed comes in the morning. I put it in neutral. I let it roll. He's about to put it up on the truck, and I push the start button on accident, to get it into gear, whatever, and it starts up. I'm like, what the crap? It wasn't starting before, and all of a sudden it wants to start. I was like, you know what? I'll let the dealership take a look at it anyway, right? Because I felt it was going to happen again. So we get to the dealership. We're looking for a place to park. He can't drop it from the flatbed. I was like, you know what? It started at the house. Let me just go ahead and drop it. I'll see if it'll start, and we'll back it into a spot. Sure enough, it starts again. I'm like, what the crap? Now all of a sudden it's working. So I was like, I'll let the dealership take a look at it. That's my mistake, right? We left it there for 4 days. And the dealership was like, we don't see any problems with it. We're starting it, time and time again. We're driving it around. We're not having any issues. So I'm like, okay, so I don't know what to do. So he was like, well, if we can't duplicate the issue, there's nothing we can do. There's nothing for us to fix. Dang it. So I said, fine, whatever. So that's when I brought it home. I started doing more and more research, whatever. I'd already replaced the battery before we went on vacation. That's why I assumed that was the issue. So then I'm like, you know what? The alternator. And the reason why I didn't dig too deep into the alternator is because every single time that we've gotten in the car, like, you saw that voltage that was coming off the alternator. It was 14 volts. That's normal. That's what it's supposed to be. And then when we're driving around, you can kind of see on the gauge where that needle's at, and it was always over 13, 14 volts. So I'm like, okay, that's not going to be my problem. What's going on with this thing? So anyway, I was going to replace the alternator. It's like $250. That was the cheapest I could find. Like everywhere else had them like $450 or whatever. And then like with my Chevy, my Tahoe, and my son's truck, the alternator is right here on top. It's on the other side, but it's like right here. So 30 minutes I can have it swapped out. But the Nissan, forget it. Nissan is on the bottom. You have to go from underneath to remove the alternator. I'm like, you know what? I want to make sure this is the issue before I even start messing with it. So, okay, fine. So today, I forgot my phone at home today. So I'm at work, and I'm not going to say I'm bored, right? But I had free time. So I was like, you know what? Let me just start looking it up. I wanted to see if there was like some kind of accessory that was drawing extra current from the battery when it was off. Like if you leave your dome light on or the headlights or something plugged in, they call it parasitic draw or parasitic loss from the battery. So it's basically something's draining it overnight. And so I kept reading, and I found a post on a Nissan forum, and I'm going to put it in my description. And it was like 5 pages worth of people having the same issue I'm having. I mean, the exact same issues that I'm having. And they said that that they've tried the same thing. The dealership is clueless. They have no idea what's causing it or how to fix it. So I'm like, God dang it, it's exactly the same thing. They're replacing batteries. They're looking at alternators. They're getting the same voltages. And what I noticed when I started looking at it a little deeper, I have a OBD2 scanner. And like I said, at idle, it was fine. But when we started driving, I started looking closer, and the needle dips below 13. I'm like, it's not supposed to dip. And I don't mean like it would go down. I mean, it was like doing this number. It was all over the place. I'm like, No, that's not normal. So when I hooked up my scanner, I could see it would dip all the way down to, when I saw it here earlier, it was dipping it down into 12 volts, 12.2. My daughter said she saw it go down to 11. It shouldn't be getting that low. For an alternator, it should be at least 13.6 and above that it's putting out constantly. So I'm like, okay, there's my problem. Something with the alternator is not putting out the right voltage. So like I said, I started looking into this thread, and they were saying that stupid Nissans, they have something like and this is not the actual term for it. It's like a variable voltage charging system. So what happens is the stupid computer, the ECM, looks at the voltage coming off the battery, and it adjusts the output of the alternator. So it tries to maximize and minimize it. So in other words, if you don't need 14 volts to charge the battery, it's not going to put out 14 volts. It's going to reduce it. It's going to lower it. It's going to vary the voltage coming out of the alternator. But it's something that just Nissan does that I know of, and especially from the post. I'm like, that's stupid. So I was like, okay, maybe that's what it's causing. Because I was getting ready to start pulling fuses and looking for circuits that are pulling more amperage or whatever. And I was like, dude, this is my problem. This is, like I said, it's a 2018, so it's only 4 years old. So yeah, I changed the battery, but the alternator shouldn't be going out that soon. So I was like, this has to be it. So let me show you what it is. So, and on different cars, it's a different thing. So hopefully, so here's my negative terminal here, right? So this is coming off of it. So this is my negative cable. So this little thing right here is the sensor right here. I'm hoping it's coming up. That sensor, what it does is it checks the voltage and the temperature. I don't know what the temperature has to do with it, but like I said, there's 5 pages worth of rating that if you want to go ahead and knock it out and see what they're talking about, you can. But they said that that sensor checks the voltage and the temperature coming off of the battery, and it reports it to the ECU, right, the computer, and the computer is going to vary the voltage coming out of that alternator as it sees fit. So a lot of the guys on the older models were saying, anyway, there's another workaround for the older models. Again, you can read up on that thread. I'll post it below. But for this one, you disconnect that sensor. And when you disconnect the sensor, basically it tricks the computer into fully charging your battery or putting out the maximum output all the time. Like, it's not going to vary it. And then from what I've read as well, the alternator has circuitry in itself that is going to regulate that voltage so it doesn't overcharge your battery. So there's no point in a Nissan ECM regulating that voltage if the alternator does it anyway. And then I read that the alternators from Nissan are crap. They're like Hitachi or something, and they don't do good anyway. So I'm like, you know what? Let me try it out. So I'm going to post a video up in one of these corners, and it's going to show you how much fluctuation we were getting on my scanner when we were driving it. And I was getting from like 12.280 all the way to like 14.6. And I can see it varying a couple of tenths of a volt here and there, but nothing. It shouldn't be varying 1 or 2 volts, especially dipping below 13.5, 13.6. So that in itself tells me that, you know what, I'm not getting enough consistent voltage to charge or to keep this battery charged. So, and like I said in my last video, God, the quinceañera is coming up next week, and I'm like, I don't have time to be swapping out an alternator. That's going to be like an hour, hour and a half at least. So I actually bought a battery tender, and this is it right here. This is an Oco one that I got off of Amazon. I have one that I use for the Corvette that has done really well. So basically what those do is they just keep your battery topped off so that you're always good to go. It's always going to start on you. So that's what this wire is for. So I was running that for the past couple of days. And then, like I said, today's when I saw that thread about the Nissans. I'm like, God dang it. So what I'll do, I'm going to post some videos too of the befores and after. And I'll show you how to take this off the right way. So you don't mess anything up. And then I'll show you what change it made. It made a huge change. I did it a while ago, and then I put it back just to test it, just to make sure, okay, it was acting bad before. I disconnected it. It's acting the way it's supposed to. Let me put it back on. It's acting bad again. Then you know that's the culprit. So I'll go ahead and pull you in close so you can see me take this off. And then we'll go from there. Be back in 1 second. Okay, so we're set up on the battery. Make sure you take off your watches and rings. You don't want to be messing with that stuff when you're messing with the battery. You don't want to short something out. So this is going to be a 12 millimeter. So this is the one that actually keeps your battery post or your cable on your battery post. This is the one you're going to take off. This is the one that goes to the sensor. So So if you look at it, it's a piece of plastic and has the metal that comes over the normal battery cable. So what you'll do is you'll take this off. And me, I don't know, call me crazy. I don't like messing with stuff, so I'll cover it when I'm not using it. That way I don't mess nothing up. So as you can see here, it comes apart. So what you'll do is you'll rotate it backwards. And like for mine, it was stuck. Like it was on there like that. And I couldn't get it to come off, but you have to rotate it backwards and then pull it out. You see that? So now you have this cable, which is your regular grounding cable right here. And that's what you connect to your battery. Put it back on, tighten it up. And then so I did this earlier and then tighten it down. I did this earlier and I actually, you know, covered this one up just so it doesn't touch anything. And there's your sensor right here. And then you disconnect it right there at the clip. I haven't done it yet, so we'll figure that out in a second. But anyways, and so I did this, and when I did, I started driving around. And the crazy thing is, I had my daughter, watching my multimeter. And that multimeter, my OBD2 scanner, it was showing 14.5 volts, like almost all steady. It dropped down to 13.9, but then it didn't go above 14.6. So instead of my range from my voltage being like this, it raised it up. Like I said, it's telling the battery, okay, go ahead and charge at 100, or I'm sorry, not the battery, the alternator. Go ahead and charge at 100%, and then the alternator is going to go ahead and vary the voltage based off of what it's feeding, what it's seeing back from the battery. So, like I said, I drove it a ways, and I didn't get any error messages. You know, it didn't trip any error in engine codes or nothing like that. Like I said, that's supposed to just only check for temperature and voltage for the ECU to regulate the voltage coming out of that alternator. Some of the guys on that post said that they've been driving like that over a year and a half. They haven't had any issues, but you know, of course, when it comes to YouTube and how to do stuff, it's like, do it at your own risk. We're not professionals. You know, I tinker around on all my cars as much as I can. I don't like taking them to the dealerships for nothing. So I tried it out and it worked. Like I said, it's putting out no less than 13.9 volts. So to me, in my mind, that fixed it. You know, I'm going to go ahead and remove that sensor and then tape off the connector just so it doesn't get dirty or nothing. I'm going to leave it off. I'm not going to hook it up to the battery tender or nothing. Like I said, these guys said that the dealerships, they're freaking clueless. They're trained more to replace and troubleshoot, not necessarily diagnose any issues that you have. So yeah, they might see, okay, your alternator is putting out a varying voltage. Let's replace the alternator. That doesn't work. Okay, let's change out the battery. Oh, okay, maybe it's your grounding cable. You know, this and that. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'll tell my wife, I said, if this works and it's putting out that constant voltage that I need, I just saved myself $250. So I'm really glad I found that post earlier today. Like I said, it's 5 pages worth of responses. And if you have a Nissan Armada, whether it's the older one or I think this is like the 2nd generation, it's worth its weight in gold if you're having that same issue of it dying like that. And just no matter whether you're changing the battery, you top it off, you charge it up, none of that stuff. If nothing's fixing it, then yeah, then by all means go ahead and do it. And I actually bought this yesterday before I even found that thread. This is an actual, so you saw that I was using the Harbor Freight, right? The Harbor Freight tester, and then my multimeter, and then the OBD2 scanner. I was like, before I dump $250 on this alternator and spend half a day doing it, I want to make sure it's bad. So I bought a Foxwell battery tester and charging system tester, and it actually checks the battery, the starting system, like the amperage pool, and then the charging system. All 3 of them passed, no problems. So I'm like, the alternator's putting out a good voltage, the battery's good, the starter's pulling what it needs to. It's not like an excessive draw of current from the battery. It's got to be that thing. So like I said, I went ahead and disconnected it, tested it out, golden. So I wanted to do the video because when I started doing searches, I could find nothing that would address this. Everything was like, oh, you have parasitic draw on your battery's bad, your alternator's bad, the grounding cables are probably bad. I mean, everything but what I just explained to you. And I was like, you know what? I know most of my videos that I do are for fishing, like if not all of them, but I just wanted to get this video. And this is not to say that I'm going to start doing how-to videos on automobiles. I probably could, but that's not why I initially set up my YouTube account. But I wanted to at least have a video for somebody out there to find, that in case they're having this exact same issue that I'm having, and they're contemplating on replacing batteries and alternators and spending hundreds of dollars at a dealership, just one nut. Take the nut off, check it. And like I said, whenever I came back a while ago, I watched that needle. That needle was well above 13, and it never moved, whether it was under load, sitting at a stoplight at idle. I mean, just coasting, whatever. They didn't move. It was solid the whole time. So in my mind, it's fixed. I'll monitor it for a week, 2 weeks, and see what happens. And I won't plug it up to my battery tender. And I can bet you money it's gonna work. If you don't see any updates in my description of my video, you know it's golden. So I'll probably post this on that forum too, just so they can see a video, because they had some people were posting pictures here and there, but nobody explained, how to do it. And I was like, what if I'm pulling the wrong thing? What if I'm not looking at the right cable or whatever? But I tested it out and it worked. So like I said, there's videos of other stuff, but nothing on this. And then two, let's say there was, I don't know. I just feel like I have a way of explaining things to where if you were standing here with me right now watching me, you'd be like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, so do this part and this and that. In other words, you could follow what I'm telling you. And that's kind of the approach that I take to anything, whether it's fishing or discada or working on cars. I like to explain it, know the hows and the whys behind, oh, look, unplug this cable and you're good to go. But why? Why do I have to unplug that cable? So anyway, I hope that helps you. And like I said, I could turn it back on and I could show you that voltage is going to be up there where it needs to be. I think I did try and get a video on the way back with my phone. I'll probably put that up here in the corner so you can see it. But like I said, just wanted to get a video out there for, if I can help at least one person that had the same issue that I did, and they don't have to sit there and spend a couple $100 on an alternator or battery, then I think it's worth it. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions or whatever. Like I said, if you don't see anything in my description a week or two later that, oh, this didn't work, then you can assume it worked. And I had no issues with it. So until I see you guys next time, take care and God bless.